Welcome to The Global Girlfriend.
Shall we book a trip to Valparaiso, Chile?
Yep.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to The Global Girlfriend. My name's Morgan,
And my name's Brianna.
and we're a podcast that's all about living abroad, traveling, and all the good and the bad and everything that goes into that. And we love everything travel. And today's episode is one we are quite passionate about, and it is why travel matters and why you should just book the trip anyways. And so today we're going to talk about we all have these thoughts in our mind often, like I should save money, oh, I'm tired. I don't know if now is the time to, like, I need to get some rest, or I don't know, maybe next year is better for timing. We have all that kind of dialogue that goes on in our head and, in our circles, and it's all valid. But also YOLO. No, just kidding. I do like I do love the cheesy phrase, you only live once. But sometimes, yes, consider those things, but also we really want us and whoever's listening to be thinking about flipping that framing and flipping the narrative. We really believe that most people aren't traveling because they don't want to. And we think that people aren't traveling because they're waiting on the quote unquote perfect conditions. And quite frankly, the perfect conditions are never there. You're going to be busy, you're going to be stressed in whatever, whether it's financially, emotionally, time-wise, there's always going to be something. It's going to be, you never know. And so we really want this episode to be about really considering to take that trip. And yes, considering all the logistics and, if it can make sense, but sometimes you just got to do it. So we're going to talk about that. I feel like we always like a story. Brandon, do you have a story where, like, it didn't make sense, or you weren't sure if you should do something or a trip, and you were just like, hey, wham bam, thank you, madam, I'm going for it?
Yeah, 100%. I think, honestly, earlier this year, I was really on the fence about going to India, actually, which ended up being one of my favorite trips of the year. Spoiler alert. So basically, I was in a situation where I had a chunk of time off of work and I was thinking, where should I go? I want to go somewhere where I haven't been before. And then I was looking at the finances of it all. And I was getting really, really hung up on the fact that, like, the flight was a little bit more expensive than I had thought I was wanting to pay for this chunk of time. And I was finding a million reasons in my head. I'm like, oh, I could just, go and do a local surf trip, or I could do something that I have always done, or do something a little bit closer. And I was just really sort of stressed, being like, oh, it's just like slightly more expensive than I wanted it to be. And so I started making all these excuses why I could sort of like stay in my comfort zone. And then I was like, you know what? No, I don't know how much longer I'm going to live in Asia. I'm going to book the flight. So booked a flight to India, ended up having the greatest trip, like not a second of regret. India is also a super affordable country. And so the bank book ended up balancing out just fine in the end. And it was just a really incredible, honestly, eye-opening trip that I will never forget. And I'm so glad that I went. And as I was, coming back, I was like, I couldn't believe that I was maybe considering not taking this trip. So that is a time when I was just like so glad that I traveled. Do you have a time when you were super glad you traveled?
Yes. And also, I mean, just to what you just said, I feel like almost always, whether you have that whole pre-dilemma, should I, and all the, you weigh it, the pros, the cons, whatever. But I don't think any time that I've gone on the trip, I've ever came back and was like, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. And so,
Right?
yeah, like I'm always thankful and feel so inspired, and filled up by a trip. And well, what comes to mind to me right now? Well, to be honest, news to the people listening. So excited! I'm going to get to go visit Brianna and Bali here soon. Woohoo! In
She's
less than a
coming to
month.
Bali. I'm so excited. It's going to be such a fun trip. Get ready, guys. It's going to be incredible.
We will be sharing a lot of content because it'll be so fun to be reunited, and also just so fun to see Brianna's home before she moves, and creates a new home in Switzerland. So, but anywho, yeah, I would say we've been talking about me coming to visit literally the entire time she's lived there, and so classic me to wait till the literal last second, but we're making it work. But if you think about like some of like the big events in my life recently, like we got married in April, which was huge, and, not only like energy wise, but spending money and such. And then we had a 2-week honeymoon in Italy, which was so fun. And so like time wise, like, it's like, oh goodness, like just a couple months later, trying to fit in another like couple week international trip isn't time wise or finance wise where you'd think like this is the ideal time. And so there was a lot of internal kind of weighing it out. And I kind of was similar to you with India of like the flight. And I was texting you about it because you're like, oh, this big flight to Asia, like, I don't know if
Yeah.
it really makes sense. But honestly, like it's so easy for life to get comfortable. I don't believe that you should constantly like risk your entire life and put yourself in absolute financial ruin. But I do think risks are essential to life. And there's definitely were a lot of very like logical reasons to why I probably shouldn't come right now. But
Mhm.
I know that I need to. And I know that I'm gonna go and it's gonna be the absolute best time. And so yeah. Anyways, that's kind of like modern day story where you just have to book the trip.
You do. You have to book the trip. And I also think that, and again, not promoting like going into financial ruin, but I also do genuinely believe that like money is a renewable resource. You know what I mean? You can always find ways to make more money. You can get creative. Money is cyclical. Money comes and goes, but like time and energy do not. And we don't know how much time we have. We know that like as we get older, we have less and less energy. So why not just book the trip at this age, at this time? And I promise you'll figure the rest out later. That's what Morgan and I have been doing for years. So,
Yeah, no, I'm a huge believer, and that's something that you said it like verbatim. Yeah, money does come and go. If you know me, you know I'm not like the world's best saver, and I'm not. And so like I can come off as maybe a bit irresponsible, but I think that life needs that balance of like having some responsibility, being a steward of your money, good steward of your money, but also I think there needs to be that balance where to like hold on loosely. Money and
yeah.
like what you said verbatim that I love that I say in my head a lot is yeah, money comes and it goes. Like we're like just like life isn't promised. We never know what's going to happen with money. You have a job, but then something happens, or you switch, or it's more, or it's less. You just, anyhow, we
Yeah,
could just
no,
go on this
that
topic
is that
so
is
deeply.
1,000% it. And I think like the sort of, I guess maybe final thought on that topic is, or on this topic rather, is that sometimes you ask yourself like, "Oh, can I afford this right now?" And that's of course good to ask, but I also think you should ask yourself, "What am I prioritizing right now?" So maybe right now you're
Yeah.
prioritizing travel and you're not prioritizing saving money, and sometimes that's okay.
Yeah. And a wise person once told me is you make time you make and this goes with what you said on priority, but you make time for what's important to you. So I think really if you're having this whole internal warfare, what is that coming from? What is your intuition or your heart or soul or whatever or your mind? What is it pulling you towards? And yeah, I just think it's important to ask ourselves, what are we sacrificing or what are you sacrificing if we keep postponing life experiences? So we obviously refer to travel a lot because, that's what we love most and what this podcast is heavily, revolves around. But like, whatever those life experiences may be for you, like, what are you sacrificing if they keep being postponed? And we're gonna talk about that. I feel like through this episode.
Totally. And I think if we think about the other sort of side of that coin is, let's actually talk about the staying home option. So you may choose to stay home, but I think you need to really like reflect and think about sometimes what staying home means, because I think staying home is safe, yes, but staying home is not always restorative in the way that going away can be. So if you're saying, "Oh, I'm tired," or "It's a long weekend and I've had a crazy time at work," like, are you actually going to feel restored if you stay home? Because I know for me, when I stay home, there's the dishes to do, or I, need to clean out my closet, or people are dropping by, or I do have like a kind of weekend routine that is productive, but it's not necessarily restorative. So I think actually sometimes if you want to rest, you can book a trip where you are focused on rest and relaxation and actually rejuvenate yourself as opposed to staying home. Because I think staying home, sometimes your life just gets in the way.
Loved what you said there, and I think just kinda adding to that point is, I think sometimes with travel, a couple things that come with it is that it really forces you to be present, and you're really whatever space you're in, whatever environment or place, it forces you to be there, to open your eyes, be present, and that is so huge, and not only for your internal self, but also for making the days longer, and I also just feel like new environments disrupt your life being on autopilot. And I think it gets tricky because we're not completely like saying that day-to-day life or whatever your home normal daily routine life is is a no-go. Like that is important for life as well, but like I think that it's so easy to get in your little bubble of comfort, to be on autopilot where you're just in your routine and you're not having any whimsy and change and new environments. So I think that's almost essential to like incorporate that into your life, to kind of switch it up a bit and kind of wake you up a little bit from your autopilot.
I agree. And I think that kind of brings us into our next point, which is that idea that when you travel, you're not necessarily a different person, but you are a more fully expressed version of yourself, I think. And if you're a traveler, I think you'll understand like when you are on a trip, you really feel like kind of an amplified version of yourself. I don't want to say a different or a better version of yourself, but like your brain is turned on and your mind is turned on and you're doing new things and you're having new experiences. And I think that it's important to feel that way. And if travel lets you access that part of yourself, you're doing yourself a grand service by embracing experiences that allow that to happen. And like, I don't know about you, Morgan, but for me, I find I get some of my most creative ideas when I'm traveling. Maybe I'm sitting on a long bus or I'm watching a sunset, and I get all of these different creative ideas for projects or things that I want to do or things that I want to write. And I don't have that same burst of inspiration when I'm sitting at home watching Netflix, obviously. So that is just another reason why I think you should book the trip.
Okay, I'm right there with you. And it's tough because sometimes, talking to people, and I know that I'm a bit excessive and on the maybe extreme side of how much travel that I need to kind of like fuel my soul and my creativity and my
Mhm.
inspiration. Whatever the quote unquote normal person is, I feel like our need is pretty excessive, and like I notice it more now that I'm in Texas, and I feel sometimes like a weirdo of like how much of it that I desire and feel like my soul just needs,
Yeah.
but it truly does. It always just rocks my world, and it's just such a gift. And I just want everyone to be able to, if it's on their heart, on their mind, and in their soul, I want everyone to take that leap of faith and book the trip.
Right? Absolutely. And I think that brings me into my next point, which is the idea of like when you not even look back on your life, because I feel like that is way too zoomed out. If we zoom in a little bit more, when you look back on like the last year of your life, like let's do an exercise right now. Morgan, what are like the top experiences if you looked back on the last 365 days? What do you remember about the year?
Okay, last 365 days. Well, yeah, it a lot of my like big life experiences, shared moments, and it's stuff like, well, obviously my wedding because that was like
You got married.
once in a lifetime and huge.
Yeah.
And it felt like this huge life experience. Like we treated it like a felt like a destination wedding, but like everyone came to
Yeah.
us. But also, yeah, the honeymoon in Italy, when we've done a trip to Spain, and oh my gosh, and my bachelorette in London.
Yeah.
Like it's those life experiences, those risks. I mean, and like everyone told me I was crazy for doing an international bachelorette. Like everyone was like, not everyone, but like a lot of people are like, whoa, like, oh, it's kind of a lot. But it was those experiences that like,
Yeah.
Truly special.
Exactly. 100%. And like when I look back on the year, I think about my trip to India. I think about the progress that I made in my surfing by like doing these surf specific trips to these amazing places in Indonesia. I think about when I took a long weekend and went to see the Komodo dragons. The things that I do
Oh,
not
yeah.
remember about the last 365 days are like the emails that I sent. um, and it's so easy to feel like, you wake up in the morning and you check your email and that's what's important. And sometimes in the moment it is. But I think if you actually look back on just the last year of your life, the things that you're going to remember most are the times where you actually switched it up, stepped out of your comfort zone, went on a trip, and it really that's what shapes your year, and that's what, especially if you're a traveler, that's what shapes who you are. So if you're on that fence of should I book the trip, should I not book the trip, like book the trip. It's what's going to make your year.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. I have a question for you.
Yep.
Obviously, like you and I both have like lived internationally for quite a bit, and but in our current seasons, like you are still currently living abroad, and I'm living back in my home country, which are a little bit different seasons of like comfort and how you operate. I'm curious, like as someone who is still currently living abroad, so are you feeling these like as you're living in a well, not new country. I know you've been there for the last few years, but are you feeling these things into like different things you're doing where you live? Are you mostly feeling these when you go to like traveling to a new country or to a new place?
Honestly, traveling is still what fills my bucket. I think especially now being in Indonesia for 3 years, when I get out of Bali, that is when I feel most alive because I think while living abroad and being in Bali, sure, every day I still have new experiences. Like Bali is still where my job is. It's where my routine is. It's where, my gym is and my grocery store, like all of those regular things. And so, yes, I'm very blessed to have an exciting life in Bali where I get to go surfing or I can go for a walk at the beach after work. Like that's really nice. And like how fortunate I am to be able to say that's kind of become routine. But for me, I need to get off the island from time to time. And something that I have found here in Bali is I want to go to big cities and I want to go to big major Asian cities and just be caught up in that exciting environment. I need to switch it up. I need to actually leave the island. And that makes me appreciate where I am even more. And I'm sure you feel the same way about, when you go on a trip and then you come home and you have all of your people around you, right? Like you appreciate the
Yeah.
things that are around you more. But still, even living abroad, I still need to take trips. I still need to take trips all the all the time. It's what really makes me feel most alive, I think.
Yeah, no, I feel yeah. Okay, you answered that beautifully, and I took like 20 years to get to what I was like, trying to ask, but I feel like you caught the drift and answered it beautifully. But also, wait, just real quick to the wording of like need to take these trips and travel, which I find myself saying all the time as well, and it's like a hard line of like needing because it seems so like travel is often like placed into the like extra like luxury category, like it's an
Yeah.
additional like so it's an interesting place to be where it's such an integral part of our life. And but I think we both do a good job of like of being super mindful and thankful that we even have the opportunity and created the opportunity as well to be able to do this stuff. So I think it's a good thing to keep in mind.
We do. We think about it. We don't take a moment of this life for granted. And I think, honestly, I think because we're so grateful for it and like it just fills us with so much gratitude, that is yet another reason to keep doing it. It makes you super grateful for all of the things you have in your life. And what a wonderful way to be.
Yeah, and like we want to share that with you because I feel like there's so many people in the world that have it in their heart and they want to take that trip, but they're hesitating. Like I'm even thinking of I had one of my best friend's mom. I remember one time when I was living in Spain and one of my best friends was like, "Oh my gosh, my mom is like so inspired by like the stuff you share and like she always wanted to go to Germany and like seeing your stuff like is inspiring her. Like hopefully she'll be able to go and do it." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so kind of her that she's even inspired me." But like it's like I never expected like my mom's friend to
Yeah.
like be inspired by that. And so I hope like this whole episode, the global girlfriend, what we're saying, I hope it inspires whoever's listening to like take the risk, book the trip. Dang, do it.
Do it. Do it. I love that. I think that, yeah, that is so beautiful. And then just on that note, I think also just talking about that expansion effect of just seeing how many more options there are for your life. This is like in a similar vein to the creativity thing that I mentioned before. But I think when you go on a trip, you sort of see how other people are doing things. You experience a different pace of life. You experience a different rhythm. You, whatever, maybe you even find a new piece of art for your home. But I think that when you go on a trip, you sort of see how things can be done differently. And you always take a little piece of wherever you went back with you. And then that can be incorporated into your regular life. And I think that that just helps you create both a beautiful life while you're at home and inspires you to go and do more things outside of your house, too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about someday. The idea of someday. Now, I think we've mentioned this obviously throughout the episode, but I think the real risk it's not spending too much money. The real risk is waiting too long. And I think back with the episode that we did with Evan on our episode about traveling with a traumatic brain injury and his story. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. But I think about him all of the time. And if you haven't listened to the episode, it's Morgan's good friend who was in a terrible car accident. And thankfully, he has survived and he lives a very inspiring life. But his life changed in an instant. Like his life could have very easily been over. And I know we don't like to think about death, but you never know what's coming and we never know when our time is going to come. And I think about that all the time. Like, yes, saving money is important, but we're given one beautiful, precious life and we don't know when our time is. So it's best to just embrace it and do the things that you want to do while you're healthy and have the time and energy to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that for sure in the United States, and I'm not sure what other countries have kind of adopted this similar mindset. Like, it is a very common mindset of, okay, I'm going to work, 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 work. I'm going to grind, 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 grind. And then finally, when I can retire, I'm going to enjoy it. And, so many people think that way. And
Mhm.
I personally always feel like I'm in an active rebellion against society, but I personally have a really hard time with that because, like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I think, especially as we get older and we see people we love get older, I mean, my parents are still relatively young, but like, as you get older, you're just so aware of aging and like and death, and you see, your parents and your grandparents age, and I just want people to go and see the world, because like, we slow down, we lose energy, there's health problems, there's whatever, and it gets harder. I mean, it does get harder. And so the time is now or in the near future.
Exactly, and I think you brought up this quote on an episode a little while ago, but it's that idea of, like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right, and I think that, like, if you tell yourself, "I can't afford to travel, now is not a good time," if you continuously tell yourself that, then that is gonna be your reality, but if you
Yeah.
continuously push yourself to tell yourself, "I can make my money work for me, I am a traveling person, I am an adventurous person, I have time for this," like, if you tell yourself these positive thoughts, then that will be true as well. So I think it's just very important to think about who you are and the life that you want and the trips that you want to take and speak to yourself in a positive way because that's what's going to ultimately create your reality.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just, the quotey gals that we are. Danny and I forget where we heard this, but we've been saying it like probably all of 2025 and probably now
Nice.
2026. But of like, you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything. So that goes back to what Brianna said at the beginning of
Mhm.
prioritizing, like, what is important to you. You can have anything, but you can't have everything. So really got to choose what you want to invest in and make it happen.
And you will
Um,
never regret taking the trip. I really don't think you will ever regret taking the trip. And let's just throw in another quote. Something else that I recently saw on the internet was
yes.
feeling like you're never going to feel ready because ready isn't a feeling, ready is a choice. And so you just have to decide. I am a traveler, I'm going on this trip and there you go. Then you're ready. Don't wait until everything. There is no perfect moment. There is no time when you're going to feel like this is the absolute best time, nothing is in the way. Like, just make the choice and then you'll start getting really excited about the trip that you're going to go on. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. And I feel like And if you're wondering like, "Oh, I can't tell like what like what I'm supposed to be doing or, where I'm being, drawn to or pulled towards." I really think that like if you have this like internal dialogue, like warfare within yourself, and you keep resisting like, "No, I shouldn't. I don't know." This thing that you keep resisting, I think you really need to think about what that is, because that
Mhm.
is there and on your heart for a reason. And yes, I feel like on this episode I've mentioned heart, soul, and mind so many times because they're all a part of life, and sometimes they work against each other. And I think consider them all, but like when something is pulling you towards taking that trip, I really think you have to just really consider it. And yeah, I don't know, I don't know.
No, I think we do know. Like, it's you
We do
gotta
know, we know.
you have to go on that trip. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Morgan and I consider this our permission slip to you. Book the trip. If you feel nervous, book the trip. If you feel like, oh, there's might be a better time next year, don't listen to that. Book the trip for now. Life is really, really short. If there's anything I think that we want you to take away from this episode, it's just that there's always going to be reasons not to. But at the same time, there are so many reasons to do that. And the reasons to do that might be less obvious or less practical, but they are just equally as valid. So book that trip,
Yeah, and
girls.
book it. And, spending money on experiences and travel and life experiences versus buying tangible items. Like, obviously, we need some tangible items in our life, but like the memories and the experience and what it teaches you on these life experiences is just so rich, and you will think about it for the rest of your life and remember these stories and these lessons, and it will literally bring so much, and you won't even remember, like, you won't remember the numbers,
No, you
like,
won't.
years from now after the trip. No, you won't. But I can guarantee you, if you don't, and it's on your mind and on your heart, you're gonna remember it years later, and you're still gonna be in the same place wondering, "Should I book the trip?"
So book
I don't know.
it. Book the trip. I completely agree. 1,000%. So we hope that we have inspired you to book the trip. We want to hear what flight you're going to be booking immediately after this episode finishes. So, Morgan, where can people find us on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find us on socials at The Global Girlfriend on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or head over to our website, theglobalgirlfriend.com, and you can send us a little email inquiry there. We'd really love to hear your story, what's on your heart, where you want to go, and talk through it with you and get excited when you book that trip.
Exactly. And if there is a global girlfriend in your life or an aspiring global girlfriend in your life, please send them this episode, like it, give it some stars, leave us a comment. It truly helps us grow. We love you guys so much. Have fun booking your flights, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.